We're here in Trentham, where local residents report multiple sightings of an electric vehicle. It's believed to be a white Tesla Model Y, an hour and a half out of the city of Melbourne. Residents are flabbergasted that an electric car could make it this far. Well, yeah, I think they must have hooked a generator to the back of the car. It just doesn't make any sense that it would make it this far into the country. Oh, look, I don't think it's electric. Fully electric. I think it's some sort of hybrid that we're seeing. So what's it really like living in the country and driving an EV? Well, it's better than you might think. Firstly, there's actually no petrol stations in the town that we're currently living in, nor is there any in the town that we're going to be moving to next, but there is electricity. Which means every night we just plug in, and every morning we're leaving with a full battery, which gives us about 400 kilometers of range in this standard version of the Model Y. And funny enough, a lot of people ask me what chargers we have nearby in the country, and jumping on an app like PlugShare, you can see that there's actually no shortage of chargers nearby. However, it's important to remember that we don't actually ever use any of the local chargers because, again, we're leaving every morning with 400 kilometers of range on the battery, so it's only going to be on those extra long road trips that you need to stop to use a charger, and in our case, most of the time, that's been a Tesla supercharger. Recently, Tesla launched the long-range version of the Model Y here in Australia, so should people that live out of the city be considering this as their best option? Well, overall, I would say no, because whilst the long range gives you that performance bump and it gives you that peace of mind if you're coming from a petrol car to an electric car that you've got a bit of extra range, in reality, you're not really gonna need it. And as a rear-wheel drive owner of the Model Y and a previous owner of the standard range Model 3, there's been very few cases where we've felt we've needed the extra range. And also consider with the long range version, it doesn't have that LFP battery that you can consistently charge to 100%. So your daily usable range is actually more like 80% on the long range version. Speaking of charging, we still use just a standard power point to charge our car at home, and it hasn't been an issue for us. However, at our next place, we do plan on installing a dedicated wall charger, and I would actually recommend this for most people for a few reasons. It can obviously charge your car a lot faster, which is great if you plan on doing multiple road trips, stopping at home in between, because yeah, a standard power point like ours will not give us a full charge overnight. The other thing about having a dedicated charger is it's a lot more efficient at delivering through that power to the car, as opposed to a standard outlet, which can result in a bit more wastage. All right, so what about some Tesla specific perks about living in the country? So living out this way means a lot more highway driving, and what better feature would you want to have in your car than autopilot? This is something that we use all the time on these country roads and highway driving, as opposed to when we were living in the city, in suburbia, and not really being able to use autopilot as much as we'd like. Another feature that we've really come to love is preconditioning the car. It gets especially cold here in Trentham in the mornings and at night, so being able to jump on the Tesla app and heat up the seats, heat up the steering wheel, get the car to a warm enough temperature is a bit of a game changer. When you're living in the country, you do a lot of night driving, and it's safe to say that the Tesla's headlights are phenomenal. They've also fixed auto high beams now, so you just put autopilot on at nighttime, headlights, auto high beams, it all just works perfectly. So well done to Tesla and the software updates we've been getting. And lastly, one for all EVs is just the cheaper running costs, because living in the country means you're going to be traveling greater distances. So we often feel fine about road tripping to the city for the day and knowing that it's not going to cost us $80 in petrol.
Speaking of money, if you want to know how much a brand new Tesla will cost when it comes to repayments, just key in your details to driva.com.au. They have a range of different options from different lenders, and you can use Ryan's referral link below.
Nice. Another good thing about owning an EV in the countryside is you often have more access to solar, more open space, more north-facing elements, and even in some cases, more exposure to wind and even hydro. And in fact, our neighbours that live just down the road who have a Model Y and a Model 3 have 24 kilowatts of solar on their roof and 16 kilowatt hours of battery storage.
I think it's awesome just knowing that it's the sunshine that's powering those things. It doesn't take a lot of discipline to go, actually, I'll wait to put the dishwasher on until the sun's out, you know. And it's just nice to know that that's where it's coming from and know that, yeah, you're doing something pretty good.
And in and around town, I'm starting to notice a lot more EVs, whether that's locals or people visiting. It's just nice to see in a small country town like this that people are making the switch. Didn't wait. Alright, so what about some of the downsides when it comes to owning an EV in the country? Well, something that we've really struggled with, and I've spoken about this before, is just the amount of stone chips we're getting on our Model Y, whether that's because Tesla has a thinner paint or because the cars are so aerodynamic that you're going to cop a few more stone chips on the front. So I would recommend anyone in the country that is looking to get a Tesla to consider a paint protection film, even a ceramic coating, because the other thing that's really hard in the country is just trying to keep your car clean, especially with those black induction wheels. The moment you take it out on country roads, they get obliterated in mud and dirt. Another thing that we've noticed too is the tar. There's a lot of road repairs in the country, so anytime you're driving over fresh tar, especially with that white paint, it's going to stick to the sides of the car, and it feels almost impossible to get that off. So since day one of driving the Model Y back to our home here, we've been struggling to try and keep the tar off the side of the car. So again, a paint protection film is going to be really useful in that situation. Clearance was actually a little bit of an issue when we had our Model 3 and we were driving around on country roads, but since upgrading to the Model Y, we've found that the clearance actually is so much better and we haven't had any issues coming in and out of driveways, driving off-road. The Model Y seems a much more capable car for country roads. Connectivity has been a bit of an issue because on these country roads there's not a lot of cellular data around, so when you're using some of the features within the car like Apple Music or playing podcasts or any sort of connectivity, even sometimes loading Google Maps on the big screen, it can be a bit of an issue, and that is a little bit frustrating, but something just to expect on country driving. And just the very last point I wanted to make is that even though it's 2023, for some reason there's still a whole bunch of negativity around EVs in the countryside. So you might get some strange looks from the locals that dislike EVs for a whole range of bizarre reasons. But that's exactly why I wanted to make this video. People still believe that these cars are just for city driving. Thankfully, there's a lot of us out there that are now starting to change the conversation for the better. Thank you all so much for watching whilst I sign off with the kangaroos watching behind me. God, I love living in the country.